So a couple of implications follow from interpreting the church's organization as ecclesial practice. I want to say just a couple of things about that. First of all, it prompts us not to view church structure as theologically neutral, as I said. Our churchly bureaucracy carries within it beliefs, values, and commitments on the part of the denomination. Now, this is not at all to argue against structural change or to some type of conservative position that resists change. On the contrary. In fact, I would suggest that recognizing that our churchly structure, in fact, embeds and express and reflect some of our deepest commitments as a denomination requires of us more intense scrutiny of our structures, not less. But this time, asking about the theological consequences that would follow were we to make changes to structure, or were we to keep what we have. How might, for example, efforts at downsizing or streamlining or realigning denominational structure, perhaps especially at the general church level, advertently or inadvertently damage or eliminate or abandon values and theological commitments that are crucial to our shared ministry and mission? Second, interpreting structure as ecclesial practice sheds new light on the theological meaning of United Methodist Connection, as I said, and the role of the agencies within it. What if we looked at the connection, our United Methodist Connection, as in fact a complex constellation of communities of embodied practice? From general agencies to annual conferences to local churches. What if we looked at this agency and our fellow agencies as in fact communities of embodied ecclesial practice? How would that change the way in which we think about the work we do, how we do it, with whom we do it, and to what ends we do it? Each community, from general church to local church, each community is, to the extent that it's entrusted by the denomination to embody certain values and commitments and beliefs on its behalf, then has a distinct role to play within the connection and a distinct responsibility towards the connection. Think of this, if you apply that then to the general agency and to this one in particular, what are the beliefs, the unique beliefs and values and commitments of our denomination that were entrusted specifically to and uniquely to this general agency and said, you have not only the responsibility but the unique capabilities on our behalf to steward and to shepherd and to care for these commitments and values in our behalf? How would such an approach help us clarify the distinct role that each agency might play within the church? How might it, for example, infuse new value and meaning in the role of this agency in cradling and shepherding on behalf of the church our shared commitments to the life of the mind, to education, to church leadership that can rightly divide the Word of God in a complex and rapidly changing world? What opportunities might such an approach offer for interagency collaboration and shared work? And finally, interpreting church structure as embodied theology and the connection as a constellation of communities of such practice enables a different understanding, I think, of the often contentious debates and conflict and ferment about agency structure, both inside and outside the agencies. We're in the midst of some of that ferment right now. Why would it do that? What it allows us, I think, to view this ferment, this debate, the structures, the conflict that we find ourselves in very often at the top, as more often than not reflecting and representing deeper struggles on the part of the connection. Because the agencies are, because of the unique place that they have in the connection, I think agencies very often function, as I said, as those symbolic spaces in which the church comes together to debate itself and to debate about itself and to bring to public view and to bring to consciousness, if you wish, some of the deepest hurt and pain and struggles and joy that all of us face together. Agencies are those unique public spaces like no other places in the church where this can happen, where you can have a debate of that sort happen. So we should not be too surprised at some of the contentiousness of our debates and our struggles sometimes and the level of furor that you find both inside and outside the agencies around what the agencies should be and do. They play a very, very specific and important role. I suggest to you tonight, claim that, embrace that role on behalf of the denomination. That's part of what I mean by functioning as a carrier or a steward of the denomination's identity. Part of that stewardship requires carrying for a while the pain of the denomination as well. I have said enough. I have a couple of thoughts that I wanted to get to, but I'm not going to go there since I think we're already past the time that we have. I will just very briefly mention when it comes to the actual, the question of the identity itself of a denomination. I have written about this elsewhere, but I suggest that we, this may be counterintuitive to many, but I suggest we recapture and recover our original and originary Wesleyan impulse of considering our identity as holiness of heart and life, and that we use this wonderful biblical, rich biblical theological category of hospitality to the stranger to give it frame and form and give it dynamic. I'm not going to talk about that, but I think that to me, holiness through the framework of hospitality becomes a powerful way for us to recapture what really lies at the heart of the Methodist raison d'etre in the first place. Russ Ritchie is correct. Over churchly bureaucracy and machinery, Methodists have agonized and gloried from the beginning. And so shall we no doubt continue. My hope is that if anything I've said this evening has any merit, United Methodists might even find reason and occasion every now and again to praise their bureaucracy. Thank you.